So again, good morning. Welcome back to our synchronous meeting. This is now week 9 of the academic year 2020-2021. Now for today, I'll be discussing the topics from the learning guides I gave you last week. And it is the consumer theory and the producer theory. So I hope you guys already read the learning guides. And if you have your GitHub open, you can also open the learning guides para magsabay tayo discuss. Okay. Asan ito ako ang PowerPoint? Just give me a minute. Okay, I guess. Alright, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Klaro ba or blurry? Let me know. Or na-stuck ko now. I guess, wait sa.
Klaro na, sir.
Alright. So, okay, so today we'll be talking about consumer and producer theory. Now, this is on the demand and the supply. Still a continuation of microeconomics, the demand and the supply. So when we say consumer theory, it talks about the demand side of the market, and then producer theory is ang sa supply side. So this will tackle how consumer and producer makes economic decisions. Alright, so let's talk about consumer theory first. So going back lang, so when we say consumer, it's either an individual or a household, and they are the basic economic unit that determines the demand. Right? Determine the demand, meaning they are the ones who uh, like ask what to purchase, like how much to purchase, and why they choose these goods compared to another good. So we will be discussing that today. So these are the either the limitations and the constraints that consumer faces in making economic decisions. Now on your learning guide, if you have that open on your screen, it only talks about utility. So there are different constraints or limitations when it comes to economic decisions, but due to our setup right now, because of the pandemic, curriculum has been shortened. But I'll try my best to discuss as much as topics as I can. All right, one of the constraints that consumer faces in making economic decision is their utility. Now, this is a different utility that you know. It's not the utility worker, utility jobs. So when we say utility in economics, it talks about satisfaction or happiness. Now, in definition, it is the ability or the property of a good to satisfy a want. Now, let's say, for example, you are craving for burgers. Like, nangita dyan kag burgers, imong kimwa dyan kag, sitaw ka na karang burus, nga nangala, nga gusto ka mukaog burger alas 2 sa kadlawon. Ana. So, once you satisfy your wants, then you are you are incurring a utility. Now utility can be measured in two ways. I will discuss that, but we have two different types of utility. We have the total utility and the marginal utility. So when we say total utility, it's the total satisfaction that you get for consuming a good or a service. And then when we talk about marginal utility, from the word itself, marginal, it means additional, extra, incremental, right? So an additional satisfaction that you receive for consuming an additional unit of good. Now this is how it looks like. So let's say we have good X. Now, for consuming 0 good X, dapat consuming 0 good X. So let's say lang, for example, let's say we consume 0 good X. Obviously, wala man tayo consume. Our happiness or total utility is 0 for satisfaction. So if we don't have any utility or total utility, obviously we don't have marginal utility. Since the formula for our marginal utility here is the change in TU or delta TU over delta Q. Now let's say good X is a burger. Ano na lang para mas ma-visualize ninyo. Now for consuming one burger, your total utility is 10. Now since isa pa man ka burger ang atong nakaon, our marginal utility is also 10. Now for consuming an additional burger, let's say nangala ka, kabuntagon alas 2, nangala kag burger, so nakakaon kag isa. So happy kay ka, mura kag nasa cloud 9, makapost ka sa Facebook og craving satisfied, kadlawon dako. So yung total utility is 10. And then though na-satisfy na imong cravings but still gigutom pa ka, you buy another unit of burger. So 2 burgers na. Now for consuming 2 burger, your total utility increases from 10 to 16. However, since eating the first burger, na-satisfy na imong cravings, ang additional burger na imong gikaon will give you a lesser satisfaction from 10 to 6. So this is marginal satisfaction, meaning additional unit of good consumed brings additional level of utility, which is 6. Now, ningkalit lang og sale ang burgeran. Let's say, sabi siya, Angel's Burger. Nakadlawong dako, kay wala naman ng malit. So, ilhan na lang i-buy one, take one. So, nakakaon na kag duha, and then ikalit lang sale, buy one, take one, ipalit na kog ka, pang 3 o pang 4 na burger. Hi! Now, for consuming 3 burgers, your total utility increases from 16 to 20. However, since busog na ka, na-satisfy na imong craving sa first burger, nabusog na ka for eating 2 burger, and then ikaon kay katulo na burger, imo lang ikaon kay nag-sale man. So your marginal utility or additional utility for consuming 3 burger decreases from 6 to 4. Now, since, di ba, buy one take one man, magipalit, so napaisa ka burger. Now, for consuming 4 burgers, okay, 4 naman kabawak plural. Now, your total utility is now at its peak, 22. Now, for consuming the 4th burger, satisfied na yung craving, busog na ka, kaan pa siya kag isa kay buy one take one, imo na lang gihurot ka tong isa pa kay para ma-justice imong gibayad. So imong additional or marginal utility for consuming the 4th burger is now decreased to 2. And then niingon to tindera kasi ito kanang lang pang tilok na lang, iya na lang yun, di buy one take 3. Tagpiso na lang ang burger para mahurot na lang yun kay gusto na siya muli ang tindera kay kadlaw na. So gipalit nimo ang pang-5 nga burger, tagpiso na lang. So pagkaon nimo sa burger nga tagpiso na lang, since nabusog na jud kay ka, satisfy na imong craving, busog na ka, nag-buy one take one pa jud ka, ang ika-5 bali murag nasa peak na gyud imong utility for burger. Constant na. Wala na nabago. From 4 burger to 5th burger, same na lang imong gibati. And then imong additional utility or happiness for eating the 4th burger, masking piso na lang iyahang price, is wala na. Wala ka nalipay. Pero kung makakita na kag burger, sumul na. Ay, sumul na imong marginal utility is now at 0. Now, di nga pagkita tindera, o sige, libre na rin burger karon kay kaulion na dyan kayo ko. Imo pang 6 burger. So gahaman man kay kag pagkaon, imo pa yung gikuha ang 6 burger. Now for consuming 6 burgers, your total utility now decreases. Di na gid nimo kaya kaunon. Nagpagtan-aw pa lang gid masimutan pa lang nimong kan sa burger, amoy sa burger, murag kasukaon na ka. And then for having the 6th burger, kay sayangan ka kay pagkaon man imo gyapon gikaon. Imong additional satisfaction for eating the 6th burger is now negative. Kay murag luod na jud kaayo. Imo pa yung gikaon ng 6th burger. So that's how utility works. Now, if you have noticed, the marginal utility is decreasing. Now, if we graph that, as you see here, your marginal utility is decreasing, downward yung trend, meaning as you consume more of the good, your additional satisfaction or marginal utility will decrease at some point. Now, that downward trend, we call that the law of diminishing marginal utility. It means that each additional unit of good that you consume will give you less and less satisfaction until you reach to the point where dili na ka gusto mo consume ana nga good maski ihatag na si imuha og libre. Alright? So that's how utility can affect someone's demand. Clear ba? Is it clear? The concept of utility?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, next. I'm not sure if you have heard this paradox, kaning diamond water paradox. Because economists are puzzled, that they puzzled yung given term. Ngano daw, diamond is more valued compared to water, nga ang water is a necessity. Now, before paning analysis about marginal utility, katong mga classical economists, they said that the reason for that is the demand and supply. Since we have a lot of supply for water compared to diamond. Diba? Ang diamond is rarely found yun. Unang mahal siya and mas valued siya compared to water. The water is needed in our life, pero daghan matag source of water. Wala siya ang diamond water paradox in classical thought. But after ning marginal utility analysis, now economists argued that this paradox is based on someone's satisfaction. So ano ni siya? Na ma-compare ni siya sa paradox of value, yung value of usage. Now let's say daw if you are stuck in the middle of the desert, and then if you are to choose between diamond and water, which of the two you will choose? Well, obviously, you will choose water. You will value water more compared to diamond. Since, based on the situation, you're in the middle of the desert and you need water to survive. Kung diamond mo pilion, obviously, mamatay dyan ka no. O ma-dehydrate ka because diamond cannot help you. Now, asa mo sulod diri ang marginal utility analysis sa diamond water paradox. Now, going back to our scenario, let's say na ka in the middle of the desert, and then you have two options between diamond and water. Now, let's say in every 5 kilometers, or layo na 5 kilometers, let's say in every 500 meters, na ay diamond and water, and you have to choose either one region. So every 500 meters ha, So it's the first 500 meters na diamond and water, and you're in the middle of the desert. So you choose water. Let's say 1 liter of water, and then so ba, 1 kilogram or something. Teka na kayo mo. Maybe 500 kilogram of diamond. Ano na lang. So sa second 500 meters, you have to choose again diamond and water. Since you still have water sa previous nga post or sa first 500 meters, so you still choose water because you have to survive for the day. And then on your third 500 meters, you then still have the option to choose diamond and water. So imong strategy is you will still choose water. So you can have water for the whole day. And then on the fourth post or fourth 500 meters, you're still then to choose diamond and water. But since you have a lot of water na, you choose from first to second and third 500 meters. On the fourth 500 meters, you're now choosing diamond. Why? Because your satisfaction or utility for choosing water is already at its maximum. Meaning, daghan pa kay kag reserba nga tubig na imuhang na-choose sa first 500 meters. Now, on the fifth 500 meters, now you will be still choosing diamond since napa makay supply. So your utility for choosing water will decrease and decrease because you'll be choosing diamond instead. So that's how marginal utility analysis will be applied on the diamond water paradox because people will value more ang diamond based sa additional satisfaction nga iyahang mahatag compared to water. Right? Because if you will choose water along the way, saan pa man mo ang water? Because if you consume more water, your satisfaction will decreases because di man ka pwede like sige na kag-consume of water, mabusog man ka. So you have to choose diamond instead. Okay, so that's the water or diamond water paradox using marginal utility analysis. Clear? Question?
None so far, sir.
Alright, klaro ha? Okay, next. Now, this one here is not included on the learning guide that I gave you. Again, it's a shorten man nato ang mga topics sa curriculum under COVID. Now, this is a very important limitations or constraints that consumer faced in making economic decisions. Kaning budget or income. Now, we have, again, unlimited wants. Maski kung sa panato ang wants diha, we are still forced to choose. Why? Because of our budget. Though we want to buy like maybe branded bags or mga branded na sanina, but due to our limited budget, mag-ukay-ukay lang sa ta. So that's how budget can affect our decision. Now, what is this budget line or budget constraint? So this is the limitation on the amount of goods that the consumer can purchase imposed by his or her limited income. So budget line or budget constraint is simply a line. Ano siya? Wala na po. Oops, there. So it's simply a line. Now, to make our analysis very simple, let's say we have two goods, good Y and good X. Now, if you are to choose between the combination of good X and good Y, dapat ang imong combination na pilion is just along your budget line. So any point outside sa imong budget line is considered out of budget, meaning that's too expensive and your budget cannot afford it or your income cannot afford it. Now, any point inside or under our budget line, we call this the budget space. Any point here or any points here are achievable, meaning within our budget, but it is not maximized. Now, to maximize our output, given our limited budget, is dapat ang ato ang mga purchases between good X and good Y is just along the budget line. Right, to understand it better, now we can express our budget line in an equation. So again, let's say we have two goods, good X and good Y. Our budget line can be expressed as the price of X QX or PX QX times PY QY equals I, where PX is the price of good X, QX is the quantity of good X, times the price of good Y times the quantity of good Y equals to your income or budget. Okay, numerical example. So given the equation earlier, plot the budget line if your PX or price of X is equals to 2, and then the price of Y is equals to 1, and then your budget is 10. Now first is you just have to substitute lang. So PX is 2, kani siya, kung na lang butang agkuhan. Substitution lang ni siya, and then PY 1 times QY equals to 10. 10 again is our budget. So first is we just have to get our QY intercept. Now to get the QY intercept, ato lang siyang i-equate into QY. Mas easier man ang QY because wala siya value, because 1 man ni siya, so pwede na natin iputang og QY. So pwede na siya i-delete or ignore. So your QY now is equals to 2QX minus 10. So negative QY. Now to get our QY intercept, we just have to assume that our QX is equals to 0, because we will be following this graph. To get the QY intercept, we equate our QX to 0 para makuha na itong exact value. So given that QX is equal to 0, our QY now is equals to 10. So now that I QY intercept, so we can plot now our QY here. And then using the same process to find the QX intercept, so i-substitute lang gihapon nato. So since QX naman itong pangitaon, so we will assume now that QY is equals to 0. So for that, the answer is 5. Now we will now plot. So pag nana tayo value sa QX and then value sa QY, ato na lang silang i-connect. 10 and 5. So pag connect nimo, you have now your budget line. Now within this, or along the budget line, point L, point B, point M, it means that these points here are the combination of good X and good Y where you can maximize your budget. At point G, it is out of budget since it's outside your limited income, meaning dili ka ka-afford aning a point, aning a combination. And then at point H, it means that this point here is within your budget but it is not being maximized. So if you are to choose in maximizing your budget, given the two goods, either lang isa tulo, L, B, and M nga points. So ikaw na bahala kung asa nga combination imong pilion, depende sa imong utility or satisfaction. Maybe you're satisfied more in choosing point M, or choosing point B, or choosing point L. So that is the budget line. Another limitation in consuming in making economic decisions by the consumer. Right? Clear? Question? Clear na ta sa budget line? If no more question, then that's it for consumer theory. Okay, now we will be proceeding to the next topic, which is producer theory. This is now on the supply side of the market. Now, producer theory, again, will help us understand how producers or business owners use inputs to produce maximum outputs. Now, first, let's understand few definitions. So, when we say production, it is the transforming of inputs into outputs. Inputs are goods that is goes into the production, and these are the land, the labor, and the capital. These are the factors of production, if you can still remember, owned by the household. Outputs, these are the goods and services that comes out of the production. So sometimes outputs are final goods, meaning ready for consumption, or sometimes outputs are considered capital goods that is also used to produce another goods like machines, like buildings. That's an example of an output. All right, now we have two types of inputs. We have the fixed input and the variable input. Now when we say fixed, it means that these types of inputs cannot be changed right away. Example for this is machine or land or building. It means that dili mo siya ma-change o pina-update, pina-abrupt because it takes time. For example, in expanding your production process, you have to expand your building. It would take you several months to construct your another factory or building, or maybe employing a new land. Another type of input, it's variable. This type of input can be changed right away. Example is raw materials, labors. It means that you can change it anytime you want within the production process. Another important concept in the production is the time period. So we have two types, the short run and the long run. So these time periods here, kaning duha, is relative depende on the industry or on the production process. So when we say short run, it doesn't mean like 3 months, 2 months, 1 year, 2 years. Again, it's a relative depending on the industry. Let's say it's a agricultural industry, ang ilahang short run is 6 months or maybe 1 year. In the car industry or airline industry, lang short run either 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Again, it's a relative term, but in economics, to consider a period short run, ano siya dapat na i-remember, at least one input is fixed. So going back then here sa definition sa fixed input, meaning these types of inputs cannot change right away. Alright, another time period that we have to consider is the long run. Again, long run can be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, depende sa industry or sa production process. But in economics, we can consider a time period in the long run if all inputs are variable. Okay? Alright, production function. Now we can describe our production function in many terms, either in a schedule, a graph, or a mathematical equation. So production function, it describes the relationship between inputs and outputs. And this is how it looks like. Now for easier discussion, And for simplicity purposes, ato lang i-consider two inputs, which is the K and the L, the labor and the capital. Because in reality, we have several inputs to consider in producing an output. Let's say in making a turon, diba, we have to consider lumpia wrapper, the oil, saging, sugar, labor. Dagan kita i-considered, and it makes our analysis more complicated. Now, for our discussion, we'll be considering two inputs only, the capital and the labor. Now, this is how a simple production function looks like, which is Q is equals to the function of capital and labor, meaning that to produce certain output, which is Q, we have to use certain amount of capital and labor. Now, when we talk about short run production function, given the definition earlier, we can consider a time period short run if one input is fixed. Now, in the production function, capital is normally the fixed input. Why? Because labor can change anytime. You can fire and employ labor anytime you want. Unlike sa capital, like sa machine, a factory, land, you cannot change it right away. So if you want to expand your production, it would take you time, like months or years, to create a new building or acquire a new technology. Now, given our capital is fixed, we can say that our output is just a function of our labor, where Q is equals to the function of L. Right? Now, given that, we can say now that our productivity are in this form. So, total product, or TP, it gives us the maximum output that can be produced at different levels. So, this is equals to Q, for a total output. AP, average product, it's the total product per unit of output. And our marginal product, or MP, is the change in the output resulting from a very small change in the input. So this is the formula of our AP and MP. Average product, again, it's the productivity per labor. That's why it's TP over L. And our MP, it's delta TP over delta L, or the change in TP over the change in L. So this is how it looks like in a table of values. Okay, so if you have noticed, our labor here is increasing from 0 to 10. So if we increase our labor from 0 to 1, our productivity is at 52. Now, if our TP is 52, our AP is also 52, and then our MP is also 52. You can use the formula here to compute for your AP and MP. Now, if you decide to increase your labor from 1 to 10, now adding additional labor will give you a 112 productivity or output, and then your AP, or the average product per labor, meaning the second, from adding another set or unit of labor, this is the productivity, 56, and then its marginal productivity per additional labor added is 60. Ano na lang, for easier explanation. So let's say you are the business owner. You have a coffee shop, and your coffee shop can accommodate 10 tables. Now, let's say you only have one waiter. Say mo ang coffee shop na 10 tables. Now, with one waiter, you can only produce 52 output. So, you have a lot of complaints from your customer because they cannot be catered immediately, since isa lang man ka waiter ang nagtuyok-tuyok to get the orders. Now, you, the business owner, would like to increase your productivity and to lessen ang mga customer complaint. So you add another waiter. So from one waiter to two waiters, so your productivity becomes efficient. So they increase the productivity from 52 to 112, and then your average product increases from 52 to 56. So meaning productive na silang duha. And then adding another waiter, your marginal product, meaning imong output for adding additional labor from 1 to 2 increases from 52 to 60. So mas daghan siya output nga nahimo having two waiters. Now ikaw as a business owner, di gyapon ka satisfied. Gusto gid mo ma-happy and ma-serve ang mga customers on time. So you add another waiter. So nakitulo ka waiter. Your productivity though increases from 112 to 170, and then your average productivity also increases from 56 to 56.7. The marginal productivity now decreases from 60 to 58. Kaya nga naman, since daghan naman sila, meaning ang tasks or division of task kay na-lessen per waiter. Kaya daghan na sila maservan, kaya tulo na sila kabuok. But you as a business owner, gusto nyo kag one-on-one, one waiter per one table. So nag-acquire na po kag more unit of labors. So let's say ni-acquire kag 9 na ka-waiter. Now for acquiring 9 waiters for your coffee shop na 10 tables, your productivity is still increasing to 318, increasing in a low rate. However, imuhang average product, if you have noticed, katong 3 pa siya, it decreases from 56.7 to 35.3. And then your marginal product from 60 or from 58, it went down to 4. Sa minhitabo, manong ni-decrease man ang marginal product. It means that the productivity per additional labor added is decreasing. Yung gamay na siya due to lesser tasks per additional labor nga gigamit. Meaning, sa imuhang mga waiter nga gipang-hire, kasagaran sa ilaha, wala na ginabuhat. Kay, if you base it sa division of labor, na-distribute na siya sa tanan. So maybe ang uban ani naglingkod na lang, nagchismisan, so dili na siya productive. So sige kag bayad, ug daghan kaayo nga labor, let's say minimum daily rate is 300, so pila 9 kabuok yung ginabayar 300 every day, pero wala na sila output na ginabuhat, gamay na kaayo. Now if you are the business owner and gusto pa jud ka mo add og one more, then your productivity will go down to negative, your marginal productivity, meaning wala na gid sila na contribute sa imong coffee shop kanang imong i-add pa nga additional one. Since business owners or suppliers are profit maximizers, it will choose a level of input that can maximize their output. Now at this point here, I can say that at 2, kani siya, it's either 2 or 3. At this point here, ma-maximize na sa supplier ang iyahang output, kay productive pa ang iyahang mga tao. Because if you add more, though you are getting higher productivity, let's say sa 6, but the output added per additional labor is just 28. So that's how suppliers analyzes their decision and on how many inputs they have to choose. Now if we base it on the graph, this is how it looks like. So your TP is increasing. Okay, it's slowly increasing until it reaches maximum and then it will decrease. Same as your AP and MP. At first, increasing sila, but at some point, if you add additional workers, their productivity will decrease. Now, this scenario here, kaning point nga mo decrease na ang MP, we call it the law of diminishing marginal returns. It means that as you go on adding additional inputs, the marginal productivity will decrease at some point until it reaches zero, until it reaches negative na wala na gid sila ma-contribute sa imong output. Now, given our production graph, we can see here the 3 stages of production. Now, if you are the analyst of a certain business, you have to look into this, or if you are an economist, the business owner might ask you at which stage of production is at which stage where we can maximize our output. So let's review. At stage 1, we have an increasing increasing returns, meaning our TP, our AP, and our MP is increasing. Ano siya sa stage 1? Our AP and MP, though increasing, but it is slowly decreasing. Now at stage 2, our total productivity is slowly increasing until it reaches its maximum. And then our AP and MP is continuously decreasing. But still, positive pa ang iyahang result. Now at stage 3, we now have a negative return. Our TP here, kani siya nga side, started to decrease, and then our MP is decreasing at negative, and then our AP is also continuously decreasing. So the business owner will ask you at which stage can we maximize our output. Now, if you are the analyst or the economist of a certain business, you can say that at stage 2, at stage 2, we can maximize our productivity. So at stage 2 here, we can hire either 5 or 6. Ito na i-base diri sa graph ha. Kaya hiding value sa tables kaniya. At 5 to 6 workers, we can maximize our productivity. Because here at this point, our total productivity is still at increasing point, and then our marginal productivity per labor is still, though decreasing, but it's still positive. So that's how you can explain it to someone. Right? And that's how businesses or suppliers makes their decision on how many inputs to employ in a certain production. All right, question. Question, guys? Is it clear?
Clear na, sir.
All right, sure ha? Okay, by the way, this lecture here is recorded. I-try na ko upload kitong previous lecture na ko sa K-Hub. Dili mo siya ma-upload. It would take like pila ka days. I'll try to upload this sa YouTube na lang, and then I'll give you the link so you can use this to review for the second quarter exam. Okay, I will just give you the link for this one. So if you don't have any questions, I guess that's it for me today. Let me just get the attendance link. And just a reminder lang, guys, for the mga submissions ninyo. Okay, because I have already done the review, still a few of you was able to submit. submissions for last week, especially katong mga submissions from previous week. Okay, and then next week, this week, I'll enable the topics, which is cost, and then I will discuss it thoroughly next week na. Alright, so that's the attendance link. If you have any questions, please fill out the attendance link properly, and then you can now leave the meeting. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you again, guys, next week. Thank you so much, and have a good day.
Salamat, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Salamat, sir.
Bye. Thank you.